Hello and welcome to AstroPath's exploration of Capricorn season. We are just about to move into Capricorn season. On this video, we're going to talk about not just Capricorn season itself, but also about the new moon, because they happen 2 days apart. And so we're going to do it all in one. Before we jump into all of that, let's introduce ourselves. My name is Laurie of Astrology. You can find me at astrolore.org. You can find me on social media, and please contact me for consultations, for teaching, for gift certificates for the holidays, and all of that. And how about you, Jenny?
Well, I'm Jennie Date of hiddenpathastrology.com, and I have some similar holiday sales going on if you want to buy a gift card for somebody or get a consultation for yourself. But you can find me at my website, and I'm available for consultations, for some tutoring. And just if you have a question or whatever, send me a little email about your astrology question. So, yeah.
Great. And, you know, something else I want to say is this is the season where everyone is so busy looking for gifts for everybody else, which is great. But I would really encourage you, buy yourself a gift. Just buy yourself a gift. Get yourself a consultation. Okay, enough about that. Anything else before we dive in?
No, let's talk about this Capricorn season we have coming up. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So first of all, we want to talk about Capricorn itself. Capricorn is the cardinal earth sign. It is a very, very strong sign. What do you think about when you think about Capricorn?
It's serious. Capricorn is, it is a serious sign. It is about taking responsibility for yourself. It refers to discipline. It refers to that kind of strong authoritative figure that can make a plan to, let's say, move an entire mountain and set the plan up and then delegate all the tasks out to get it all done. So it's a very effective sign. It's slow moving. It's a yin sign. So there's this kind of inward component to it as well, which might come as a little bit as a surprise to some of you, but there's this need to kind of, I don't know, grapple with solitude before you can then look at what plan you need to make.
Yeah, I think some of the important things to really remember about Capricorn is, like you said, it's a very solitary sign. It's, you know, and you use the word delegation, and you want to really be clear that that is, Capricorn is about delegating to others, not about, you know, doing things together. It's not a cooperative sign. It's a sign that wants to delegate because it is the authority. It is the sign of the authority. And as the sign of the authority, one of the really important things with Capricorn, and for anyone who has a strong Capricorn in their own charts, you know, integrity is super important. And when the sun is moving through Capricorn, and during this particular Capricorn season, you know, it's really going to be important for you to know where Capricorn is in your chart and really understand what you need to be doing to, in order to really be in integrity with your own, your own, what's the word I'm looking for? Your own authority. Where are you in authority in your own life? And how is your level of integrity in that area?
Yeah. Yeah, I really think Capricorn has something to say, or maybe gives you an opportunity to look within and be your own inner authority, you know, rather than letting people tell you what to do or kind of giving away your power and not being really sure about things. This is an opportunity to go, geez, where do I need to take responsibility for myself? Where do I need to grow up? Where do I need to more, you know, like, where do I need to, you know, what are the holes in my plan that I need to kind of figure out? It can also be something simple like setting your schedule. That can be super helpful and just helps you set boundaries around time and also space. So it's those sorts of things to think about. And although it's serious, but anyway, go ahead.
And just where do I need to work on my own?
Yeah.
On my own. This is not an area where you're cooperating with someone else.
Yeah.
I seem to feel like I need to get that clear, probably for myself as much as anything. It's like, this is an area where you work on your own.
Yeah. I mean, I like that solitude part of Capricorn because it does, I don't know, it gives you a chance to just kind of reckon with yourself and then go and have a social impact, because Capricorn definitely deals with, your social impact and ambition. So it is worthwhile. So it's that very inner stuff, and then in order to make an impact in the external world.
Right. The ambition piece is really important. And yet with Capricorn, you know, the area that you're growing and you're working hard on to develop with all this ambition of this area, I think the integrity is that you can't be playing to other people's desires. You can't be trying to build this area so that everyone stands around and says how great you are. It has to be, you know, you have to be patting yourself on the head, not having other people do that.
Yeah, and you're doing it for bigger reasons. This is
Right.
not about self-gratification.
Right. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, this is the bigger view, because we haven't really talked about the dark side of Capricorn, which is exactly things when Capricorn becomes a tyrant, becomes a dictator and starts just issuing edicts, and it doesn't care who it kills or takes advantage of to make that edict happen. And so that's where you really see the dark side, that coldness, that cutoff piece, which really helps you understand how Saturn rules Capricorn, because Saturn pertains to those sorts of things where you kind of cut things short or make some serious boundaries or even build a wall. So I think that's where you start seeing the more negative, or I think in psychology for people, it can manifest as pessimism or just, like I said, just being cold and kind of cut off. So,
and if you are doing this Capricorn kind of work for adoration for yourself, it will push you in that direction of being a tyrant and losing your level of integrity. So there's all of that. That's there's Capricorn in a large nutshell. All right. So for this Capricorn season, what are our highlights? We've got some really significant things happening during the season. The first one actually happens the day before, right? The day before the sun enters Capricorn, Jupiter enters Aries. And Aries and Capricorn are both cardinal signs. So this puts them in a square aspect to each other. And, you know, I think about this as this very beginning of Capricorn season is really about initiation. You know, it's time to initiate. It's time to start something. These are both cardinal signs. They are startup energies. So this is a demand to get into action. And yet, what's the and yet?
Well, I kind of feel like that, as you said, this happens right at the beginning of the season. So it's a little bit of a setup like, hey, folks, you know, there's a lot of big moving and shaking pieces that are coming your way, and we're going to start the season with this. However, like the Capricorn season itself overall, first of all, it's Earth. So it actually does represent a time to kind of slow down and do a little bit more of that inner stuff, because we have a couple retrogrades as well. Mars, still retrograde in Gemini, is going to, station direct towards the end of the month, but it's still going to be retrograde most of the time. And we also have a Mercury retrograde cycle that's going to station retrograde in Capricorn, stay in Capricorn, and then station direct still in Capricorn season. So that really emphasizes some kind of something you have to do. I think you were talking about recommitting to things. So we'll get a little bit more into that, but I think that's a huge highlight, those two kind of shifts. Because the only other shift is Venus will also go into Aquarius as far as things changing signs.
It's pretty interesting thinking about that recommitment to kind of the boundaries you've already set for yourself. The rules that you've already set for your own life, recommitting to them while Mercury is doing that retrograde in that area. And let's give some dates here. We've got Mercury going direct on December 29th. And then Mercury goes retrograde on December 29th. And then it will go direct on January 18th.
That's right. Yeah.
Mars has been retrograde since October 30th, and it will go direct on January 12th.
Yeah.
Right. And what other what other dates do you want to focus on here? Well, we've got the 23rd is the new moon at 1 degree Capricorn.
Yeah, I think that's probably the big one. So,
Yeah.
and we'll cover that in the video today too, just because
Yeah.
it's so hot on the heels of the season starting.
Right.
I mean, I just would say overall, the other thing that we added to, as you'll see, is a trine to Uranus.
Oh, yes.
And we added that because Uranus is in Taurus. It's been there for a while, so it's in an Earth sign. It's been there for quite a few years. Still got a few years to go. And it trines all that Capricorn Earth stuff. And so it's interesting because on one hand, it's like, yay, it's Earth. It's time to settle down, get grounded, set your foundation, review your commitments and your boundaries. And yet there's a trine to Uranus, which brings this more kind of like awakening quality to something that you need to make sure you incorporate into your plans as you look at your commitments. I don't know, that's just something interesting to really think about. So you'll see that Uranus piece included too.
Yeah, and I think it's nice to include a trine in our conversation because a trine is just a gift. And a gift from Uranus is a gift of excitement. So, I think of it as Uranus has been moving through wherever it is in your own chart. It's been moving through Taurus, like you said, for quite a while. And it's like waking up to how that, whatever you're awakening to in that area is now really supporting this authority, taking on your own authority in the area where Capricorn is. And I think that's a lovely thing to think about. Yeah.
And I think another kind of layer you can add in too is that because it's Earth, because it's Taurus and Capricorn we're talking about, we're really looking at resources and also your value system. So some of the things that you might be incorporating into your Capricorn like boundaries and recommitting to things is going to be, how do you use resources? Is there a way you can check in about, are you wasting things? Can you tighten down a little bit? So it's also looking at things like that, but in a positive light, like how can you make your life simpler?
Right.
How can you, and then how do your values need a little adjustment so that you can make these changes? It's kind of like that. I mean, it brings in those kind of questions. And like you said, it's a trine. I mean, a trine is the kind of king aspect in astrology where it really just brings you these gifts. And it's just this very, kind of exuberant possibility that comes your way.
Yeah. So we need to pay attention to that. Okay. What else? We should go through the lunar cycle.
Yeah. Let's do that.
Also, you want to talk about that one?
Yeah. So the new moon in Capricorn, as we said, is on December 23rd. And a week later, since we're in cardinal signs, we're going to see the moon in Aries squaring the sun. And that's actually the same day that Mercury stations retrograde. So that's kind of a biggish day there. And
December 29th. Yep.
Yeah. So a few things happening that day. And that kind of is going to be the first quarter square is always a time to take action. And I will certainly be including that in my blog. Yeah. And then there's my shameless blog plug. And then we have the full moon in the middle of the month. Right, it is smack dab in the middle of the month. Sorry, season. And that is on January 6th. We have a full moon in Cancer. And then, so that's kind of the other big part of the lunation. Because after that, you just have that last quarter square, which incidentally is the same day that Venus squares Uranus, which was one of our few kind of challenging aspects of this month. So that is January 14th. So that's the moon cycle. The moon's in Libra for that last one. And then pretty soon after that, we close down the season and we're into Aquarius. That's a real quick overview of the moon cycle.
I want to throw something random out here at you, Jenny.
Do it.
What I notice, and I don't know, but you might want to think about this as you're writing your blog posts. And I also want to plug your blog because you're blogging about each phase of the moon is really excellent. And any of you that are listening to this should really be paying attention to Jenny's blog about this stuff. But what I'm noticing is at the new moon, the day before the new moon, Venus trines Uranus. And at the day of the last quarter moon, Venus squares Uranus. So this whole lunation is kind of really involved in the relationship between Venus and Uranus.
Mhm.
That's kind of an interesting thing to think about. And at the beginning of, at the new moon, that Venus square Uranus, I mean, Venus trine Uranus, that's like bringing the gift of the excitement to the values. And then at the end there with the square, it's like a demand to use that.
Yeah.
Use that gift that you've been given.
Yeah.
There's something in that.
Yeah, it's an energy shift. It's kind of like, hey, here's the gift. I think, I mean, you actually said this before the video. And then when you get to that square at that last quarter moon, it's like, all right, well, now you got to do something with it. You've been given this gift. You need to do something with it to make, I mean, in a simple term, to make the world a better place. I mean, whether just something small in your own life or there's something bigger and more humanitarian or charitable that you're able to do. But just the idea, it doesn't matter how big or how small. That's not the point. The point is that you recognize, oh, these things have been given to me, and now I need to make the effort, because that's the square, to do something with it. So I really like that. And I also like when Venus goes into Aquarius, we were talking about that kind of being like a prism, like Venus and Aquarius is like this, I don't know, because Aquarius kind of symbolizes the future and really forward thinking and, you know, real humanitarian big picture thinking. Social rights, things like that. And then when you put Venus in there, Venus is all about beauty. So I just thought, ooh, I like this idea of the prism.
Yeah. And I also just thinking about the fact that, you know, Saturn has been in Aquarius for quite a while. It's only in there a couple more months before it goes out. So Venus is kind of bringing some ease into that area, some beauty into the area of where Saturn is currently playing.
Yeah, so that kind of sets up
plays. Yeah.
Saturn only plays very seriously.
Right.
It's not an organized game. It doesn't necessarily play. But we'll talk more about that in Aquarius season. So that'll be something we can, that'll be a focus, because that's a pretty big shift. The other thing I want to say too is we have, you know, this final retrograde of when Mercury stations direct on the 18th. Well, just a couple days after Capricorn season wraps up, maybe just one day, Uranus is also going to station direct. And what that means is that every single planet is going to be going forwards, including Chiron with the asteroid. All of them are going to be forward. So this really says to us astrologers like, hey, there's a lot of energy coming up, and that this is your last couple of weeks to kind of do that inner work, to set the foundation, to revisit things in order to move things forwards, because I think it's going to be a very busy like midwinter and spring coming up here in a lot of ways. So
it's sort of the way this feels to me on a real simple level is this cardinal, it's like time to initiate things, but not really, you know, it's like getting it ready and getting it right on the verge. And then once everything's direct, then we're able to really move forward. The periods of time when all the planets are moving direct, it's really interesting. And I've thought about that a lot in terms of natal charts, people who have all their planets direct in their chart. It's such a gift. It really is amazing when everything's moving forward.
Yeah. And at the same time, it's great having this kind of heads up so that, you know, I know it's the holidays, so that kind of brings another level, but you still have a little bit of time after holiday season where you can just take some time to pause, check in, revisit, try to deal with some of the, you know, those, I don't know, some of those more challenging things that have happened in 2022. You do have an opportunity, in a way, kind of put some of them to bed. And then have this kind of fresh start, you know, once we get more into Aquarius season. So, yeah.
Okay. I think we're ready to move into the personal impact pieces. So anything else you want to say before we move to that?
No, I think we're good.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so now let's take a look for those of you with Aries rising. This Capricorn gathering of planets is happening there in your 10th house. So this is an area where those of you with Aries rising, you really hold a lot of serious authoritative energy in your 10th house. And this is where you're going to want to be planting a seed of deepening that authority in that area, And with the Mercury retrograde, this is where you're going to be recommitting to your authority in that area. Say more, Jennie.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great opportunity to review how you take your authority in your profession. Even if your profession is that you are the person who stays at home and takes care of the kids, it doesn't matter.
Right.
It's where you show up in public. So this is a really, really good time to think about that. Like, are there boundaries you have in this area that you want to revisit? What are the things that you're proud of that you've accomplished? And then what are the things that it's an assessment period,
Right.
and for better or for worse. So you can take advantage of that, that this season. And at the same time, we have put on here Uranus to show this really nice trine from Uranus and Taurus up in all your Capricorn planets in the 10th house there. In this case, Uranus is shining a light on, I like your graphics, on how you use resources and your value system in particular. So it's kind of laying out a connection here. Like, how does your profession bring money and resources that you need to support you? I mean, that's one of the big questions we're looking at, but it is also a two-way street, right?
Right. Right. So how you are an authority in the outer world is assisting you in really this kind of waking to the meaning of resources in your life in some way. So this is, it's a window of opportunity where you really could increase your financial connection with the development of the kind of reestablishing your commitment in the outer world will really allow this opening into not only your money and resources, but your own self-worth.
Yeah. And I mean, in earth signs, it really is just talking about practical, tangible resources in a lot of ways, like how you, I mean, that's why, especially in this chart, it's like money.
Right. Yeah.
And it might be something like, how can you do more with less? Like, how can you need less? I mean, we're living in a time where there's a big shakeup in our resources and the flow of resources towards us. So this is an opportunity to really think about that. And when I say opportunity, I mean like in a positive way, like this is a great time to be like, ooh, maybe I don't need that thing that I was going to spend money on, or maybe I can find that used, or maybe I can barter. I mean, it kind of brings in some of these other level things that tie in with your resources and how that works with your profession.
I like that.
Yeah.
But it's a window of opportunity between your resources and how you are recommitting to more seriousness in your career path.
Yeah. And because it's Uranus, it's something to wake up to. It's something you were talking about it being excitement. So it just kind of peppers in pepper.
Yeah, maybe you'll get a raise. Yeah. Maybe you'll get a raise, or you'll discover that you can find everything you need at Goodwill. One or the other.
I think that pretty much covers that.
All right, let's move on then to the next one we've got is, if I can get there. All right, if you have Taurus rising, this Capricorn statement is happening in the 9th house. So the 9th house is the area of our worldview. It encompasses things like education and travel, where we really expand our understanding of the outer world. So that's where the new moon is happening. You want to plant a seed of seriously expanding your understanding of the world. And yet at the same time, with Mercury going retrograde, you are recommitting to how your view of the world.
Yeah, I think this makes a statement about how you need to take charge of areas that are missing in your worldview where you haven't fully matured. Because I think Capricorn really refers to maturing. So this is a chance to kind of assess and be like, what are the gaps in my education, or what are the ways that I limit myself and get stuck in thinking? Because you could get stuck with Capricorn there, and taking responsibility for reaching a new level of maturity, or incorporating a totally different viewpoint that you hadn't necessarily thought of, because these are things you can kind of get stuck in with Capricorn. But fortunately, you have this trine, right?
Yeah, I love that you said to really be looking at the gaps in your education and how that relates to that Uranus in the 1st house. It's like, well, now I'm ready to fill those gaps because I've seen this new side of myself that is capable or willing or excited to dive into filling those gaps.
Nice. Yeah, I like how you added that. It's a good point. So, I mean, Uranus in your first house, woo, that's a big shakeup. And for those of you with Taurus rising, you don't really like shakeups, probably. You kind of like things. I mean, it depends on the other things in your chart, but certainly Taurus on the ascendant indicates somebody who likes to keep things status quo. Like, I want to maintain this in a certain way. And with Uranus going through your first house, like, that's just not an option.
Right.
And so it's really an awakening. It's a wake up to, wow, what do I need to see differently in my life? Like, how do I need to look at myself, my self-image, the energy I put out there? What can I awaken to about those things? What can be new and different?
And how can that new, different side of myself assist in the growth of my worldview, the maturing of my worldview?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the area you're really kind of digging into this month. And this is just a window of opportunity, a gift of, yeah, you're changing. And that's a great thing.
Yeah,
All
this
right.
is a time of expansion for you, Taurus rising. So
Definitely an expansion of self and worldview.
Mhm.
Okay. So now we're going to move on to those of you with Gemini rising. And this puts Capricorn in the 8th house. Now, the 8th house is the area where we really grapple with the issues that other people bring to us, right? It's a difficult house because it's really grappling with other people's baggage, with other people's values. So with the new moon happening there, you are planting a seed of seriously learning how to understand and work with other people's baggage. And with Mercury doing its retrograde there, it's really recommitting to your authority in that area.
Yeah. Yeah, this is interesting. This 8th house reminds me a little bit of like an iceberg, where you can see the top of the iceberg, and that would be the 7th house, let's say. But the 8th house is everything that's kind of just underneath the surface. And so it refers to other people's, hidden values or intense emotions, or maybe some, I don't know, unhealed areas of other people. So you tend to butt up against these things that you're like, whoa, what was that? But fortunately, Capricorn holds the sign of the icon of the sea goat. And the sea goat refers to the fact that it can go to the mountain peak with the goat, but the sea part is diving under the sea to see where the base of the mountain is. So with that Capricorn ability, you can really dig into some of that stuff beneath the surface that you weren't able to maybe notice before, and just kind of get square with it, have some integrity with it. And that helps you figure out where to set some better boundaries. Or maybe your boundaries are great. I don't know. Or sometimes maybe your boundaries are too strong and they're walls, right? But this is a time to reassess how you manage other people's stuff.
Yeah. How you manage yourself in the face of other people's values and beliefs. And the gift for you comes from a very inner place. Comes from the 12th house. There's a trine here. So this is a gift of an internal awakening, some patterns within your own mind that have opened and released while Uranus is in that area, really waking you up to some of those old patterns. And that is really allowing this window of opportunity to see the other more clearly.
I really like how you're making that connection between those two things, because as you work with the awakening to, oh, geez, here's these patterns that are actually making me my own worst enemy, I actually can let those go, because now I can see them and I'm awakening to them. And so now I can remove those. And that's just going to make it so much easier to deal with other people's stuff. Like when they come at you, you can be like, yeah, that's yours. That's not mine. It just gives you this new foundation to stand on. That's pretty cool.
That's really beautiful. I like that. Just realizing that how that connection can, that statement of really separating your own stuff from someone else's and being able to, oh, okay, we can work with this because we understand our own patterns. And the gift is that we can use our understanding of our own patterns to bring that understanding to how we're managing other people.
Yeah.
I don't know if I articulated that in a way that made any sense, but
No,
it made perfect sense to me.
well, I think I think it was good what you said, and it was making me just think of the fact that Uranus is in the place that's hidden, and the Capricorn's in the place of secrets. So there's something about secrets and what is hidden, and being able to kind of work with those in a new way that you hadn't been able to before.
Right.
So I don't know. So I'd like Gemini rising to please send us an email and tell us what hidden secrets they discovered during this month. So
yeah, and
uh,
you're planting a seed, and you are renegotiating your own responsibilities in how you manage yourself in the face of other people's values and baggage. Bottom line. Okay, are we ready to move on?
yes, please.
Okay. That line got left there. Let me get rid of that. Okay, so here we are. For those of you with Cancer rising, you want to start talking about that? The Capricorn in the 7th house, Jennie?
What? No way. This is going to bring all those Capricorn planets to your house that deals with partnerships. So again, this is your one-on-one partnerships, like your marriage, but it also could be more fleeting ones, like in your therapist's office. And it really refers to any kind of one-on-one situation as you go about your daily business. So this gives you a really great opportunity to revisit this part of your life and think about, how are you doing in this part of life? How are you able to take responsibility for yourself when you connect with other people? Are you able to operate from a place of having some authority in your relationships or not? This is a time to kind of review those things and then think about boundaries. Do you have good boundaries in your relationships? These are all the important questions you're going to be thinking about taking responsibility for with Capricorn season.
Right. So you're planting a seed there. You're planting a seed to become stronger and more connected. You're reestablishing your commitment. You're planting a seed there, and you are reevaluating your own commitments in that area. It's not about making new commitments. I mean, there is the planting the seed for a deeper commitment, but it's really about reevaluating and working with the commitments you've already made. And then how does the gift of excitement from community support that, Jennie?
Well, I think it comes about in a couple different ways. I mean, first of all, as you feel sort of more, okay, I've got my authority here in your one-on-one relationships, it enables you to be more in group community settings and kind of feel like you're able to stand your ground in those more, groups can be more dynamic, but also more like, more kind of triggering or dizzying because there's so many more people that you're working with. So I think that you really have the opportunity to apply those skills to your group situation. And by the same token, you're getting a gift from the community towards your relationship. So your community supporting how you are in your important relationships, right?
Yeah. I think of that. I think the excitement of community, I'm trying to think of something that Uranus, it's like there's an awakening to, this could be a new community coming in to support your commitment to your partner or your commitment to relationship itself. And it could be that your partner opens the door to a new community for you as well. So there's some real awakening there between those two areas.
This all, you just made me think too, Laurie, that this also could be that you wake up to this new community in a local area and you go and you meet the person you want to be with. It also works that way.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the other takeaway here is anyone with Cancer rising, Uranus has been in that 11th house for a while. So there's been the shakeup around how you cope with your community, how you deal with groups, what your relationships are. So
I love that.
Yeah.
I love thinking of, this is kind of silly, but I love thinking of like the new moon, you plant a seed that you want a serious partner.
Yeah.
And then with the trine, the community opens that window and opens that door for you. So yeah, those of you with Cancer rising, if you happen to be single, keep your eyes open to where a community could open some doors for you. And if you are in a committed partnership, just the opportunity to be in community in a different way, or developing or finding a new community as well.
Yeah, because it just makes me think too that it can really make something really fun and new with your partner when you go and are in a group setting and like you meet all these different people and you kind of get to look at your relationship in a different manner, like because you're connecting with different people and
boy, you really do. Community and relationship is such an interesting connection. It really is, because when you're in a community setting with your partner, you do see your partner in a very, very different way.
Yeah.
And I could go off on a tangent about that, but I'll leave it. And
I think you get the point.
I think you get the point. So let's move on to those of you with, let's move this, with Leo rising. That's going to put that Capricorn focus in your 6th house. So you want to think about how you manage your day-to-day routines, those serious routines that support your health. You want to plant a seed here to become more committed. You want to be renegotiating through the course of the Mercury retrograde, really reworking some of the commitments or recommitting to commitments you've already made around your health or routines.
Yeah. Yeah, and this does also pertain to your work routines, like as in the day-to-day, like what do you do to get yourself to work? Like, do you pack a lunch? Those nuts and bolts of like how you make your day happen. Oh, and don't forget to feed the cat, right?
I was just going to say the same thing.
Or the dog. So this is that how you kind of manage. It's a managerial part where you manage all these things. And the health piece is really about what do you do to prevent injury, to prevent illness. These are routines you do to keep yourself healthy. At the same time, there's a very strong link with that Uranus up there in the 10th house, creating an opening to do with your profession. So, I mean, the link here is pretty clear. It's like as you plant a seed to do something new about how you, or maybe not to do something new, but how you recommit to these routines that you really want to do. And this is something people typically do after the new year, right?
Right. This is a very new year focused.
It kind of is. It's kind of very practical too. It's like how that impacts how you do your profession. And this might be, again, like that some big shift has happened where Uranus is in your 10th house, that maybe you, I think you mentioned this in the beginning, like that you, maybe you're working from home now, or maybe you're going back to the office after the pandemic, some way that it's shifting and your routines need to shift with it. And there's a nice window and interplay between these two things.
Yeah, it's a window that can make it really lovely. It may be that, you're heading back to the office and you suddenly have a whole different routines, or the other way around. Your office or your place of business has finally decided you can just stay home and work from home all the time. And it's interesting because Uranus is also connected to technology and things like that. So the technology can be part of what's opening that window too.
Yeah, oh, that's right. And I mean, because we're dealing with earth signs here, we're dealing with practical, tangible things. So it's also the idea of, I love that you brought in technology. That's certainly your Uranus thing, but just how you use resources. And I mean, how much our workplaces have changed in the last few years. But it brings in those things of like, what do you value? And how you can make do with less and those kinds of other topics. And with Leo rising, you've had Uranus in your 10th house for a while now, like adding a new like dimension to whatever your work is or bringing in questions about it.
Yeah. Okay. I think that settles us on Leo rising, and let's move to, let's see here. I've got to close that little line down, and we'll move to those of you with Virgo rising. And this puts this serious sector into your 5th house, which is not a serious house. It's kind of interesting here. The 5th house is really, it's where we give of ourselves. It's where we play and enjoy life. It's this is a time for those of you with Virgo rising, you're planting a seed around your creativity. You are recommitting to your creativity or how you give of yourself to the world.
I also think here with Capricorn, it's like, get serious about how you have fun. I mean, this is literally like making a schedule in order to go and do the fun thing. that you know, and if you didn't get it on the schedule, you might not do it because you want to just be serious and work all the time and not go and do something that is not work. So I think there's an element of that here. But I mean, I like this. I think it is cool to have an earth sign like Capricorn in this place where you're putting in creative energy, because it's very tangible.
Right.
And then at the same time, yeah, I see you're, you know, highlighting that trine to Uranus there, and that really brings in a nice interplay as well. I mean, that's showing you how your creative pursuits impact your worldview and vice versa. You know, right?
Yeah. And one of the things I was thinking about with this is going back to the technological connection with Uranus, that there may be your creative pursuits are more, you know, this window of opportunity to bring technology into your creativity. You know, yeah. So thinking about that, how can your creativity be supported by your world, the growth in your worldview of how to use technology, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And I think the other piece here too is that the 5th house also does symbolize children. So this might be some way that you need to just kind of reevaluate how you're working with the children in your life. And is there something that you need to do around recommitting to a relationship with children, whether it's your own or someone else's or whatever. So it kind of brings in that element too. And I really, when I think of that too, I really like how that playful energy of hanging out with kids on that level really does uplift your worldview. It opens up your mind. And even if you're, you know, opinionated about other things, when you consider like children and what you'd like to see for children in the future, which is represented by Uranus, that's also a nice way to think about this energy too, that the creative things that you do have an impact to uplift and the younger generation.
and thinking of the 9th house also as travel. This makes me think of is if you have adult children, maybe you're jumping on an airplane to go travel and visit your children. Just on a really simple way that this could manifest. I kind of like thinking about that.
Yeah, nice.
All right. Anything else?
No, I think we've
okay, so let's go on to those of you with Libra rising. This is putting this serious segment into your 4th house of home and family. So what you want to think about is, first of all, the new moon being there. So you're planting a seed to become more serious about how you are navigating your home and family and recommitting to prior commitments in that area.
Yeah. I mean, we also talk about this, as you said, as family and home, and it also can refer to your physical home. It can actually even refer to land, if you own land.
Ancestral line.
Yeah, that's kind of, it's a cool house because it seems sort of surface like, oh, it's home, but then it goes really, really deep actually to a lot of levels. So this is a time to really work with that area of life. And and I don't know if you're doing like a study on your family lineage, for example, like this would be a really good time to kind of get your ducks in a row and dig up that family tree and kind of, you know, get that lined up. That's something to think about.
Yeah, I love that. If you think about that, and then the Uranus in the 8th house, it's sort of like waking up to, I'm not sure how to articulate what I was just thinking, but just thinking in terms of, you know, you might go get your 23andMe, you know, whatever those things are.
Genetic test. Oh yeah.
Yeah, the genetic stuff. And how that could really open up a window into other people's values. You might find out things about your lineage that you didn't know, and in a good way. I mean, I know, you know, all this genetic testing has opened up really powerful stuff for a lot of people in positive and negative ways. With this window, this is really, you know, there's an opening here between how you understand other people and how you navigate the boundaries between yourself and other people. And there's some awakening in that area for you that supports your understanding of those deeper levels of family ancestral line and all of that.
Hmm.
So maybe your work with your ancestors is supporting your real understanding other people on a deeper level.
Hmm. Yeah, I really, you made me remember that when you're dealing with the fourth and the eighth house, I mean, these are like the psychic kind of mysterious houses. I mean, these deal with the less knowable levels of what it is to be human. So I really like that you brought this in. I mean, this is like, sometimes I think about the eighth house as that place where you have some secrets, perhaps, that have been tucked away, and this might be a time to kind of awaken to some of those truths, because a lot of times when there's family secrets, you find out that those secrets are actually pretty universal, that a lot of families have similar themes.
Right.
So it's, even though you're like, oh my God, I found out this thing, turns out that, guess what, probably someone else in your family has already uncovered that, or other people in your life are dealing with something similar. You never know. So it's really, it is an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So reevaluate your own commitments to your home and family. Bottom line, plant a seed there and recommit. Okay.
All right. Great.
And now let's move on to those of you with Scorpio rising. This is putting that serious, hardworking energy into your third house of communication, siblings, neighbors, day-to-day way that your brain works. You're a serious person around these things. Your communications are serious. So what are you going to do to plant a seed there at the new moon and reevaluate your own commitments in that area?
Yeah, just as you're saying that, I was thinking this person, Scorpio rising is, Scorpio is such a deep, intense sign. And then with the Capricorn on the third house, it's like, you want to go in and investigate and go deep and understand these things. And so there's a serious scholar here. This is a serious, like, I want to learn these things. And furthermore, there's an emphasis on communication. Yeah. There's like getting serious about your communication. Like, how do you talk to people? What results do you get when you have conversations, and kind of visiting that area, visiting those thoughts, and that what you said, that, well, revisiting how you handle those things in your life. So and then
revisiting your commitment to your voice, your commitment to the most serious side of your voice. I think that's, that scholar. I'm glad you brought in the whole issue of kind of scholarly thinking, serious thinking. And then, what does Uranus bring in?
Yeah, well, Uranus is in your seventh house of Scorpio rising. So that means you've had this window of opportunity to change how you do relationships these last few years. And during this particular Capricorn season, you're really getting a chance to look at that. Like, how does your relationship support your scholarly pursuits, Right. And then how does what you learn influence your relationship? Like, you go back to, maybe you're having dinner with your partner and you're telling them what you learned that day about this really cool, new, exciting topic. And they're going, wow, this is so great. It's so nice to see you so excited, and it's this really awesome interplay in this kind of social realm.
And it could also be, this serious communication you're doing may open up a window into new relationships, new exciting people coming into your life, not necessarily possibly a partnership kind of thing, but just one-on-one relationships that bring some excitement that really support this serious voice of yours.
I'm glad you said that, actually, because this could have a big impact on friendships, on close friendships, because both the third and the seventh house have ties to close friendships. That third house being like siblings, like those friends that are so close they feel like a sibling. And then the seventh house brings that one-on-one connection, because there's, there's varying levels of intimacy in all our one-on-one connections.
Maybe you'll fall in love with a neighbor.
This might be an opportunity to recommit to how you want to handle your friendships, because friendships are so important, and sometimes we neglect them a bit in favor of other relationships. So
friendships and siblings. I think it's very easy for us to underestimate the importance of yeah, those friends, those neighbors, those siblings. And this really does open up opportunity for you to make deeper connections and to really recommit to your own work in those relationships, as well as how you use your voice in those relationships, something like that.
Nice.
Okay, let's move on to those of you with Sagittarius rising. Okay, so this puts the Capricorn planets into your second house. So at the new moon, you're going to be planting a seed to develop more seriousness in how you use your resources, how you understand your own self-worth and value. With the Mercury retrograde, you're going to be recommitting to that seriousness in that area.
Yeah. Yeah. I think of this with Sagittarius rising, there's been a focus in different ways on your self-worth. And I think that this Capricorn season is a really important time for you to really get square with that, like to go ahead and assess, take that retrograde time to assess, how do I love myself? And really put that serious eye on it, because this really is the foundation of your personal power in a lot of ways. Like how you value yourself really enables you to flourish in all other parts of your life. So I think this is a really profoundly important time to do that. Also because you have that Uranus in your 6th house of routines and health. So as you value yourself and you put yourself first in the positive ways, it is going to enable you to maintain a sense of health and to do your preventative routines, like your exercise and how you eat and those daily things that keep you going and keep your body healthy. It really very much ties into that.
Yeah. It also, I think also of the idea of how you're spending your money being supported by your health and by what you're doing day to day in your routines. Let me think. There's something more I'm thinking about there, but there's something about, waking up to how you manage your routines and how that supports your self-worth. That's pretty simple, really. I think I'm trying to complicate it, but it's actually pretty simple.
Yeah, well, it's simple, but it's also profound, because you really are dealing with, this setup really does deal with self-worth, self-care.
Yeah.
Like how you value yourself is how you're able to put self-care at the forefront. And then vice versa.
So this could, given thinking about the 6th house as day-to-day routines and pets. Of course, I'm going to say something about cats here. We can think of this as maybe you're going to get a cat and realize how much it costs.
Oh, well, yeah.
Anyway.
I was going to say, and how it impacts your wonderful health. Not, oh, damn, this is expensive.
Oh, damn, this is way more expensive than I thought it was. Okay.
It's a good point, though, because it does deal with resources. And with the second house being filled with those Capricorn planets, we're looking at resources. We're looking at how you can do more with less, like how you can, how you can, I don't know, just have less of an impact.
So you might have to start making your pets food instead of buying it. Okay. We will go on from there. I'm being a little silly. All right. So we're going to go from Sagittarius rising to those of you with Capricorn rising. This is very, very personal, isn't it, Jenny?
Oh, yeah. This is Capricorn season. I don't know, this might be a little bit intense for those of you at Capricorn rising, like every year, because it really puts an emphasis on the seriousness and the serious authoritarian aspects of your personality. It's not leaving a whole lot of room for lighthearted fun, although we do have a good addition to that, don't we?
Yeah, we do. But let's stay on that first house. I think I distracted you there for a minute.
I know what she's going to say, but basically this is a really good time to kind of just reassess, like reevaluate your sense of self, like your self-awareness, your self-image, your life direction as a serious person to undertake you know, challenging endeavors. And this is a time to kind of like take a step back and indulge in the more hermit side of Capricorn and take a look within, and then
Yeah.
maybe reset some boundaries about how you want to appear in the world and
Yeah.
how you want to engage with the world.
Yeah. And commit to yourself. I mean, this is a time of really renegotiating and re-exploring your own value of yourself. And with that beautiful trine from the 5th house, this is, bringing in some fun. Capricorn doesn't generally know how to have a lot of fun. People with Capricorn rising struggle with that quite often, I think, the issue of fun, because there's such a seriousness with that Capricorn rising. But over the last few years, with Uranus playing around in that 5th house, there's probably been some real awakening to a need for fun, a need for more creativity in your life. And this really provides a window of allowing that creativity to support the seriousness of your own authority.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that because, Uranus is the thing that kind of breaks up the pavement. So it's like the jackhammer breaking up the pavement. So letting new growth come through. And in your 5th house, this is like how you take risks. This might be a time of like having a lover, and really enjoying that lover side of an, early stage relationship, or not even progressing to another relationship. I mean, this brings in all of that kind of playful, fun, like more lighthearted type of energy. And I don't know. I think that this could be really helpful and useful and lighten things up for you.
Yeah, I love that Uranus there in the 5th house. That is really, really nice for somebody with that serious Capricorn component going on there.
Yeah.
All right.
I also might reveal a new source of personal power for you too, just like breaking up like the same old way you've done things and be like, ooh, it's actually some cool, there's some things here I didn't expect. So
right, sort of like, there's an opportunity to bring some creativity in that supports you as an authority.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Yeah, that's good. Okay,
Nice.
So let's go on to those of you with Aquarius rising. What about Aquarius rising with Capricorn in that 12th house? I'm going to throw that ball to you, Jennie.
Well, the 12th house is always that behind the scenes, the hidden house. And sometimes it does really reflect those subconscious or unconscious patterns that that we're not aware of and end up creating a great deal of suffering for ourselves. And so this is a intense area of life with a fairly serious Capricorn component there, so this is a really good time to think about that, to go in, take advantage of that hermit part of Capricorn, and just think about, where do you want to revisit? Where do you want to recommit to the personal growth you're doing, your responsibility for your own maturing and growth? There's a lot of symbols about that going on here in that 12th house. So.
Really planting a seed for your own inner development, for your own inner understanding of those patterns. And then with Mercury retrograde, recommitting to the path of growth. This would be a time to, if you're working with a therapist, make sure it's the right therapist. If you've been working with the same therapist for the last 5 years and nothing's really happening, get a new one. That 12th house is really such an important house to understand, to go in behind the scenes, behind yourself, in those areas. I think of that house. I remember our friend Mary Jo talking about the 12th house as having a little opening in the back of your head where information comes in. So with this focus there, look for that opening, look for what you can see that's going on behind the scenes. And then with Uranus opening a window, how does this relate? The window that is supporting that growth and that development comes from home and family.
Well, I was just thinking the 4th house is also your personality foundation. So this is a great time to break up patterns, break up
Right.
old,
Yeah.
subconscious, regressive patterns that just don't work for you, you know. And with Uranus in your fourth house, you've already been doing that for a
Yeah.
while. There it's
Your
right.
family
Yeah.
patterns are getting
Yeah.
broken up.
Yeah, and it's good because it's allowing new life, you know. And so this really is a great
Right.
opportunity for personal growth for Aquarius rising for this next season. And what a great way to prepare for all of this forward movement that's happening. And so I think that they really work nicely together. And I mean, you're right, it could be a family member. This could also symbolize a move, a time to buy or sell a home and move out and, you know, uproot your life that way. It can be on that very tangible level, especially with Earth here. But all of that is having an impact on your psychic being, which is 4th and 12th house, is definitely pertaining to that less understandable portions of your life, that kind of subtext.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think it's like breaking up those old family patterns that are connected to your own inner patterns. And really allowing yourself to really grow in your own inner authority of yourself. I love that. I think that's a great,
it's a really nice one. And so, I mean, when Aquarius season comes too, Aquarius rising, it's going to all dovetail right into, okay, I'm going to have a new me, you know? So
that's great. Okay, so let's move on. I think we're coming to the last one. We're coming to Pisces rising, and this is going to put that serious nature into your 11th house, which we can think of as community, where we receive from the bigger community. So this is a time to plant a seed for developing or deepening our understanding of what community means to us, of how we receive love from others, and reevaluating where we have already made commitments. What is the community you've already made commitments to? Reevaluating that and deepening your understanding there.
Nice. Yeah. No, I think those are all really good things. And I think sometimes that community and groups, they're not the easiest for everybody, especially maybe Pisces types, which are maybe a little shyer with that Pisces rising. So this is a really good opportunity to kind of reassess that and to, you know, figure out, can I allow more love in from community? Can I allow my community to uplift and hold me up? And like, what can I do with integrity to make that happen? Like, what steps can I take? Because the Capricorn there, it's very concrete. And like, there's some steps up. You can lay out a plan and steps of how you want to do this.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
And
then we're going to look at the gift that's coming from the 3rd house.
Yeah. So Uranus has been cruising through your 3rd house for a while. So this is changing up how you do communication, how you communicate, how you learn, how you maybe you have new neighbors. This also pertains to siblings and very close friends that are like siblings, and you know, looking at like what are some ways that has changed. And then it's really supporting this 11th house community piece. I mean, this might be how your sibling supports you in your efforts to open up to community. And it also could be like how you go out to community, receive love, and you find a new good close friend that ties in with that 3rd house. So
yeah, you can also think of it as I don't know, for some reason I'm thinking in terms of, you know, the communication, this excitement of communication, and then the community. So maybe it's time to get involved with some community endeavor where communication is clearly part of it. I don't know. I'm kind of struggling with this. I can see it in my head, but it's like, you know, maybe you need to find a book club or a political place, something where you can gather with people and use your newfound understanding of your voice.
Yeah, I was thinking, I mean, I just thought of how Mercury can tie in with the kind of teacher archetype, and like with Uranus in the 3rd house, this might be that although you're a student, it's time to step up and be the teacher, because you learn the most when you're the teacher, right?
Yes.
So it kind of brings in that. That's what I was thinking. It's like that way that you're stepping up in front of groups.
Yes. You teach best what you most need to learn. I always love that statement. You teach best what you most need to learn. And it's so true. And I really like that you brought that in here, because that really does feel like, yeah, you're bringing your newfound voice to your community. Your community is supporting you in using that newfound voice during this period of time when this window is open. I love that. All right. So plant your seed for a new community, reevaluate your own commitment to a community, and have a lovely Capricorn season. All right. So I think that brings us to the end, and we will come back and do one again next month.
Sounds good. Thank you for watching, and
yes,
have a great holiday season.
Thank you. Thank you, Jennie.
Laurie.
Bye-bye.